Chapter 1. Right before the tour, the dance company suddenly stripped me of my lead role. I rushed to confront them, but in my distress, I fell down the stairs. As I endured the sharp pain, about to call 911, a notification for a post from someone I follow popped up on my screen. Crimson River Dance Company. A warm welcome to our new leading lady, Cecilia Vance, and her generous patron, Ethan Hawthorne. The two smiling faces in the picture were my husband of 7 years, a secret marriage, and his pampered mistress. Ethan Hawthorne had his arm around Cecilia Vance's waist, planting a light kiss on her cheek. Cecilia, in turn, draped her arms around Ethan's neck, her face a picture of coy sweetness. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth and, in a flash of defiance, posted a picture of our marriage certificate in the comments. Is the company's new production, The Bastard Alliance. A moment later, Ethan's call came through. Nora Darcy, what the hell are you doing? I've told you countless times, my relationship with Cease is just for show. I sniffled. Ethan Hawthorne, what right do you have to take my lead role away? There was a pause on the other end. You're at Crimson River. After a moment, he continued nonchalantly. Cease wanted the lead role in this tour as a birthday gift. I had no idea the part was originally yours. You need to get online and clarify that the certificate was photoshopped. I found it utterly ridiculous. He didn't even know where I worked, yet he remembered the birthday gift Cecilia wanted. And then what? Why would I Photoshop a marriage certificate? Ethan said flatly, you can just say you're one of my fans. Ethan, what do you take me for? He sighed. Nora, we've been married for 7 years. We're an old married couple. Cecilia is young. There's no need to get upset with her. He seemed to have forgotten that I married him before I even graduated from college. Though we'd been married for 7 years, I was only a year older than Cecilia. Ethan, I fell down the stairs. My leg hurts badly. Nora, it's just a simple apology and a clarification. It's not that hard. Ethan sounded disappointed. When did you become such a liar? Drip, drop. Large tears mixed with blood dripped onto the back of my hand. I covered my mouth and ended the call. Ethan called again. I silenced my phone. I called 911 for myself. When the paramedics arrived, they asked if I had any family with me. No, I said, tilting my neck back numbly. They're all dead. Halfway to the hospital, Ethan sent me a text message. Nora Darcy, you've upset Cecilia so much she's fainted. Get to the hospital right now and apologize to her in person. Bring a suitable gift. The press will be there. Don't be afraid of losing face. You were the one who started this. My fingers trembled as I typed back 2 words. In your dreams. Then I turned off my phone, shutting myself into a world of solitude. While waiting for my X-ray results in the hospital corridor, I overheard a familiar voice. Dr. Matthews, I'm Nora's boyfriend. If there's anything she needs, you can contact me directly. I looked up, and my eyes met Ethan's as he walked over. He froze for a moment, his movements stiffening, then acted as if he didn't know me, continuing his conversation with Dr. Matthews as he walked past. The faint scent of citrus on him made my stomach clench. I almost fled in panic, but Ethan turned back. He seemed to be in a hurry. Seeing I was still there, a look of exasperation crossed his face. Nora, have you thought it through? I told you in your dreams, I said, pushing him away and limping in the opposite direction. I felt Ethan's gaze linger on my leg for a moment, growing colder and colder. Nora Darcy, are you really stooping to playing the victim just to avoid an apology? I ignored him, wanting only to escape this hallway that reeked of Cecilia's perfume. A large hand grabbed my shoulder and pulled me back. I stumbled, unable to keep my balance, and a searing pain shot through my foot. I couldn't help but cry out. Ethan's brow furrowed, his displeasure growing. You disappoint me so much. He expertly fished my phone out of my pocket. Give it back, I reached for it, but Ethan shoved me away impatiently. Hank, hold her. The bodyguards were tall and imposing. With a gentle grip, they rendered me powerless. Ethan Hawthorne, Chapter 2, a face mask was tossed at me. Cover her mouth, stop her from screaming. My wrists were clamped tightly, my leg ached too much to move, and my mouth was muffled. What could I do but cry? I could only watch as Ethan used my phone to log into my account and post an apology and clarification in my name. I've changed your password and switched the verification number to mine. For the time being, you'd better behave and not cause any more trouble. Ethan looked up and was startled by my appearance. He pushed the bodyguard restraining me away, glaring at him reproachfully. "Why were you so rough?" He rubbed my wrists. "Does it hurt? Wouldn't it have been easier if you'd just listened?" I snatched my phone back and numbly opened my social media. "Dancer Nora, I apologize for my comments on Crimson River Dance Go's post. I am not married to Mr. Ethan Hawthorne. As a fan, I let my personal feelings get the best of me. I sincerely apologize to Cecilia Vance and Ethan Hawthorne for the trouble I've caused." My fingers trembled so much I could barely open the comments. "Dancer Nora, have you no shame? Dancer Nora, oh my God, your desperation to be the other woman is practically oozing through the screen. Dancer Nora, you vile person, stop tarnishing the name of dancers. Get out of the dance world." Ethan took my phone again. "Don't look." My lips moved numbly. "Ethan, is this the result you wanted?" He turned his face away. "The internet has a short memory. I'll have someone manage the narrative later. Just stay off your phone for a few days." I slowly shook my head, my eyes losing focus. "Ethan, you've ruined me." I couldn't see his expression, but I heard the irritation in his voice. "I told you I'd handle it. What are you making a scene for? If you hadn't acted recklessly in the first place, would any of this have happened? Nora Darcy, let's be clear. Even if I deliberately threw you to the wolves, you brought it on yourself." A ringing filled my ears, and all I could do was laugh bitterly. "Ethan, let's get a divorce." He must have chuckled, his voice indulgent and weary. "You're emotional right now. It's fine to vent." He was convinced I would never divorce him, trying to show his magnanimity by tolerating my outburst. Amidst Ethan's laughter, I surprisingly calmed down. Just then, a nurse called my name from the other end of the hall. "Nora Darcy, your test results are ready." Ethan froze, then followed me. "What test results?" "Ethan," a delicate voice called from behind. "What took you so long?" Ethan turned without hesitation and walked toward Cecilia at the door of her hospital room. "Cease, why did you get out of bed? Go back and lie down." Dragging my numb leg, I walked in the complete opposite direction. It felt like I was walking on razor blades. Every step was like having my flesh carved from my bones. Every step was agony. The doctor told me I had to rest for the next month, or I could forget about dancing ever again. I took a cab home to a cold, empty house. Because of our secret marriage, Ethan and I had separate residences. He had deliberately chosen the apartment above mine. The first night he moved in, Ethan pinned me against the wall and kissed me. "This way, I can sneak into your bed every night." He seemed to have a particular fondness for this game of illicit affairs. I had thought it was just a personal quirk beneath his serious exterior, but it turns out, cheating is his true nature. He had grown tired of me and fallen for the newer, fresher Cecilia. Chapter 3, at 9 o'clock that night, Ethan came over with a bag of fruit. "Nora, I bought you some cherries. Want some now?" I tossed my phone in front of him. On the screen was Cecilia's latest post. I said I was craving sweet and sour cherries, and he bought these instead. LOL. "So, I get Cecilia's leftovers. Is this charity?" Ethan frowned. "Don't be like that." He came closer, wrapping his arm intimately around my waist. "Is it because we haven't slept together in a while? Is that why you're mad?" I shoved him away forcefully and gagged pointedly in front of him. A storm cloud gathered on Ethan's face. "Nora Darcy, that's enough. Don't push your luck." "What luck have you given me?" I pressed my chest, tears streaming down my face. "Do you have any idea how many abusive calls I've received? Do you know that I've been blacklisted by several major dance companies? My career is ruined. Ethan, what did I do to deserve this?" I have a gentle temperament, which, to put it bluntly, means I'm a pushover. Ethan used to pinch my earlobe again and again, murmuring affectionately, "Nora, you're so easy to bully. What would you do without me?" I had never imagined Ethan would leave me. Years ago, when my parents committed suicide under a cloud of accusations, everyone despised me. It was Ethan who pulled me out of the mire. He fought with his family for my sake. I still remember him kneeling in the rain for so long. He took me away from that place of sorrow, and we started over in a new city. Ethan hadn't abandoned me when I was at my lowest, a pariah. Now that the hardest days were over, I was faced with his infidelity. "Let's get a divorce," I said, closing my eyes. "Leave me with some dignity." "Nora," he rubbed his temples, looking weary. "It's not like you haven't been cursed at before. Why are you being so overly sentimental? My eyes shot open, and I stared at him in disbelief. What did you say? Ethan's lips thinned, his expression dark. When your parents committed suicide, the whole country was cursing. Get out, I grabbed a cushion from the sofa and threw it at him frantically. Get out, Ethan, who had probably never seen me so hysterical, stared in shock for a moment before leaving in a huff. He took the bag of cherries with him. You don't need my charity, right? Fine, let's see how stubborn you can be. Less than 10 minutes after he left, Cecilia posted on her social media again. First day moving in. The decor is so tacky. What is this straight guy aesthetic? The picture was of the apartment upstairs from mine. The tacky decor she mentioned was all my handiwork. Ethan had replied underneath, it is pretty tacky. Let's tear it out and remodel. I rubbed my sore eyes, the tears having long since dried. A house can be redecorated. An old partner can be replaced with a new one. To him, I was nothing more than a broken toy he had grown tired of. My phone rang again with a harassing call. I simply removed the SIM card and replaced it with one I had used for an overseas performance. A famous international dance company once extended an offer to me. I had turned it down because I couldn't bear to be separated from Ethan. I nervously dialed the number of the person who had contacted me back then. Hello, is this Mr. Jason? There was silence on the other end. If it weren't for the faint sound of breathing, I would have thought he'd hung up. Why wasn't he speaking? Had he seen the trending topics? I clutched the phone tightly, my palms sweating. Mr. Jason, please listen to me. I didn't do those things. I wanted to post a clarification, but all my social media accounts are being controlled. I tried creating a new account, but my posts were taken down within seconds. Wait for me. A low, male voice suddenly spoke, surprisingly familiar, yet completely different from the blonde Mr. Jason I remembered. I was stunned. You're not Mr. Jason? Wait for me, he repeated, then hung up. I was confused. A moment later, a text message came in, taking off, phone off. A few seconds later, my phone vibrated again. Wait for me to get back to the country. I'll take you away. Chapter 4, although the man's words were a bit strange, they at least showed his support. I let out a sigh of relief. Over the next few days, I packed my bags and sorted out my documents. I didn't have many things. Everything fit into a single suitcase. I didn't touch anything Ethan had bought me. It wasn't because I was above it all, nor was it because I still held out hope for him. He had cheated on me, leaving me utterly broken. But when my family was destroyed, and I was a social pariah, when everyone was demanding I pay for the lives of the deceased children, just as my parents had, it was Ethan who saved me. I don't know how he convinced his father, but after that long night of kneeling in the rain, he was kicked out of the Hawthorne family. At the same time, the public outcry against me online vanished. He helped me change my name and gave me a new life. He truly caught me when I fell and stayed with me through the darkest of times. For that alone, I couldn't bring myself to hate him. All I wanted now was an amicable separation. After 3 days of silence, Ethan showed up at my door again. Have you calmed down and thought things through these past few days? I nodded, very calmly. Yes, I've thought it through. Ethan misinterpreted my meaning, a proud arc raising his brow. Good that you've thought it through, Nora. You need to remember your place. If you behave, I'm willing to keep supporting you. But if you push your luck, I'll make sure you have nothing. He delivered his threats, but when I remained unresponsive, a flicker of confusion crossed his eyes. Are you done? I placed the divorce agreement on the table. If you're done, then sign it. Ethan stared at the paper, his dark pupils slowly turning cold. Nora Darcy, you knew about Cecilia and me all along. Why couldn't you just pretend nothing was happening, like you did before? Wouldn't it be better to just ignore it and continue being Mrs. Hawthorne? Whatever she has, you'll have too. And what she doesn't have, I can also give you. Nora, you shouldn't be so greedy. I stared at Ethan in a daze, unable to believe those words came from his mouth. I remember when we were in high school, Ethan's father had an affair. When his mother found out, it caused a huge uproar. His father had berated her. A man of my status who doesn't have a mistress. I'm not going to divorce you, so what's all the fuss about? At the time, Ethan had smashed a porcelain vase next to his father with a baseball bat. Amidst the flying shards, he had said coldly, word for word, a man with no sense of family responsibility might as well become a eunuch. Back then, I thought Ethan was the coolest person alive. But in the blink of an eye, The disgusted teenager from years ago had gradually become just like his father. The 30-year-old Ethan had become the very person the 15-year-old Ethan despised most. I just felt a wave of nausea. Impossible. I pushed the divorce papers towards him again. After we divorce, you can support as many women as you want. Ethan stared at me for a while, then suddenly picked up the agreement with 2 fingers. You want a divorce, fine. But shouldn't we settle the debt you owe me for all these years? I nodded and took out a bank card. There are $5 million in here. It should be enough to cover my living expenses for all these years. Seeing the card I had already prepared, Ethan's brow furrowed. $5 million, you think that's enough? It's enough. I looked him straight in the eye. I've kept a record of every household expense. The ledger is in the study, you can check it. I've also kept all the luxury goods and jewelry you bought me. The ones I've used have been appraised, and their value is included in the total. Ethan Hawthorne, I don't owe you anything anymore. Ethan was silent for a long time, so long that I almost thought he wouldn't agree. Then he suddenly chuckled. I was planning to take you to the charity gala tomorrow night. Since you don't need it, then forget it. His gaze lingered on my face for a few seconds, probably hoping to see some sign of regret, but I disappointed him. My emotions were almost completely flat. We have a secret marriage anyway. The position of Mrs. Hawthorne can be replaced at any time. Ethan pursed his lips and tossed an invitation at me. It has your name on it. If you go with me tomorrow night, I'll agree to the divorce. Chapter 5, I didn't know what Ethan's motive was, but I had no choice but to agree. It wasn't until I changed into the gown Ethan had sent over and was driven to the gala that I realized I had underestimated his cruelty. This was no private dinner. The red carpet was flanked by reporters from every media outlet, along with screaming fans holding flowers and banners for their idols. In my days, someone had already spotted me. Look, isn't that the sham marriage tramp? Ever since Ethan had forced me to apologize using my account, I had been branded with that vile nickname. I had seen screens full of insults, but no amount of text could compare to the jeers right next to my ear. Nora Darcy, how do you still have the nerve to show your face? Look at her dress. Cecilia is wearing white, and she's wearing white too. What an old green tea bitch. Don't you dare compare her to our goddess Cease. She's not worthy. Exactly, our goddess Cease is wearing a pre-season couture gown. Hers is, what, from 2 years ago? The malicious taunts drilled into my ears. I turned to flee, but a staff member beside me grabbed my arm. I looked up and saw it was Ethan's bodyguard, Hugh. He smiled at me, his eyes glinting menacingly. Miss Darcy, Mr. Hawthorne said you must go inside. He was a distant relative of Cecilia's. Last time at the hospital, he had deliberately pulled me so hard that he left a bruise on my arm. Ethan had seen it but had only given him a light reprimand. Today, he had let him deal with me again. The Ethan who once held me in the palm of his hand was truly gone. My heart ached with a bitter sorrow, but I couldn't struggle. I could only let him half drag, half pull me along. Look at the way Nora Darcy walks. Doesn't she look like a lame old donkey? She must be trying to crash the red carpet and got caught by the security guard. Nora Darcy, you're trash, a cancer. With a sharp cry of anger, a drink bottle flew towards me without warning. I tried to dodge, but Hugh deliberately blocked my path, even pushing me towards the bottle. The purple grape juice splashed all over me, staining my white gown. Ha 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 ha, doesn't she look like she's on her period? Sham marriage tramp, have you no shame? Get the hell out of here. If I were you, I'd just jump off a building and die. Is it true that the more shameless you are, the thicker your skin? Amidst the piercing laughter, I thrashed my restrained arm. Let go, I need to change. Hugh gave me a malicious look. Sorry, even if you're on your last breath today, you have to go inside first. Mr. Hawthorne said if you want a divorce, you have to get through tonight. Otherwise, you'll face the consequences. I froze. Right, how could I have forgotten? Ethan Hawthorne was a new tycoon in the city. What did I, a woman whose true identity couldn't even see the light of day, have to fight him with? I smiled bleakly. Let go, I'll walk myself. Hugh was clearly determined to humiliate me. Not only did he not let go, he deliberately quickened his pace. He dragged me along, a pathetic sight that drew continuous laughter. When he finally brought me to Ethan, Hugh reverted to his honest, simple-minded act. Ethan's cold gaze swept over me. What happened? I glared at him hatefully. Why are you pretending? Isn't this what you wanted to see? Ethan's brow furrowed. Just as he was about to speak, a delicate white arm wrapped around his from behind. "Senior Nora, I'm so sorry. The person who threw the juice at you was one of my fans." Cecilia, dressed in a flawless white couture gown, pressed herself tightly against Ethan. "The young girl must have been upset seeing you in a dress so similar to mine. I'm sure Senior Nora won't mind, right?" Before, Cecilia's provocation would have enraged me, but now I just wanted to leave. "Ethan, you wanted me to come and I came. You wanted to humiliate me and I've endured it. Your goal is achieved. Can I go now?" Though it was a question, I had no intention of waiting for his answer. I turned, wanting only to escape. "Don't go." Someone blocked my path. Chapter 6. Isn't this the great dancer Nora Darcy? Since you're here, why not dance for us before you leave? I didn't recognize the man in front of me, but I knew he was just someone Ethan had found to humiliate me. "Move," I said, my face grim, my tone icy. "Well, aren't we feisty?" the man said, sizing me up like a piece of merchandise. "Still think you're the rising star of the dance world? You must not have heard. You've been blacklisted by the industry, haven't you?" My breath caught, and I felt as if I'd been plunged into an ice cave. "Ethan, is what he's saying true?" Ethan swirled the wine in his glass, his eyes both unfamiliar and cruel. "This is the punishment for your mistakes." I couldn't help but press him. What did I do wrong? What could possibly be so wrong that you would destroy my future and cut off all my paths? Ethan, tell me. Ethan's lips were pressed into a tight line, clearly displeased with my attitude. "You know what you did." Cecilia smiled sweetly. "Senior Nora, I'm performing on stage tonight. Your reputation hasn't been great lately, has it? Why don't you dance too? There are a lot of powerful people here. Maybe one of them will take a liking to you." I stared at Cecilia until her smile faded. "Ethan," she shrank behind him, "Senior Nora is so scary." Ethan patted her hand, his eyes fixed on me. "Nora Darcy, didn't you want to latch onto someone powerful? Several entertainment company CEOs are here tonight. This is a great opportunity. Aren't you going to seize it?" I gasped, finding the Ethan before me terrifyingly unfamiliar. The year he started his business, we were dirt poor. He desperately needed capital, or he'd miss a golden opportunity. I secretly danced at a nightclub to make quick money. When Ethan found out, he would rather sell his own blood than let me expose myself in a place like that. "You know I'm very possessive," he'd said. "I go crazy if other men even look at you." He had loved me so much back then. We would spend nights wrapped in each other's arms in our small, musty apartment. Even a single plum we would share, bite by bite, feeling utterly content. And now, he seemed perfectly willing to push me onto other men. My voice was hoarse and dry when I spoke. "Fine. As you wish." I pushed past the person blocking me and walked towards a director I had worked with before. "Oh, why is Senior Nora still limping? Is she really hurt?" "Ignore her, she's faking it." Ethan's voice was so arrogant and dismissive, blending with the jeers of the onlookers into a massive net that nearly suffocated me. I forced myself to walk to the director. Before I could even greet him, he nervously sidestepped away. I stood frozen, knowing there was no point in asking anymore. But I wasn't ready to give up. I had always been the workhorse of the dance community, known for my low-key and non-confrontational nature, with a reputation for being professional. So many people had once made grand promises to collaborate with me. I refused to believe that all my accomplishments could be erased by a single word from Ethan. So I continued to drag my injured foot, humbling myself to approach acquaintances in the room. However, they all avoided me like the plague. They either saw me from a distance and walked away, or they stood with Cecilia and mocked me. I endured it all, until there was no one left to ask in the vast banquet hall. It was then that I suddenly realized I was like a clown under a spotlight. Everyone was laughing at me. Everyone wanted to kick me while I was down. And leading them was the man I once thought I could entrust my life to. "Nora Darcy," Ethan looked at me, his face grim. "Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough?" Cecilia feigned concern. "Ethan, Senior Nora is my senior after all. Maybe we should just let it go." He didn't reply, but his furrowed brow relaxed slightly. "No way," someone shouted intentionally. "If a mere dancer dares to act so high and mighty, won't it tarnish Mr. Hawthorne's reputation?" Exactly. Even if Mr. Hawthorne doesn't stoop to her level, she needs to be taught a lesson, so she knows what she can and cannot touch. "Nora Darcy, drink this glass of wine, and we'll give you another chance." One of Ethan's cronies shoved a full glass of hard liquor into my hand. "What do you all say?" A chorus of agreement echoed around the room. I asked Ethan, "Is this your idea?" Chapter 7, I stood 3 steps away from Ethan. He didn't move forward, and I had no desire to get closer. I knew he was waiting for me to back down. In every argument we'd ever had, I was always the first one to surrender. Not because he was right. It was because I always remembered how he had saved me from that darkness. I naturally felt indebted to him, so I was willing to tolerate his misplaced anger. Even when he repeatedly flirted with Cecilia, even buying a house to keep his mistress, I pretended to be blind for a while. But today, I didn't want to pretend anymore. I asked again, "Is it your idea for me to drink and apologize?" When Ethan didn't get the apology he was waiting for, anger flared in his eyes. "Yes." I shook my head and smiled bitterly, staring at the liquor in the glass. Ethan knew perfectly well that I was allergic to alcohol, yet he was forcing me to drink to protect Cecilia. The boy who couldn't bear to see me get hurt in any way was finally gone, lost to time. Crack. I thought I heard something shatter. It was the sound of my entire decade with Ethan. A phrase came to mind, "What's done is done." "Fine." I raised the glass and, under Ethan's hesitant gaze, drank it all in one go. The harsh alcohol burned my throat, making me cough until my face was red. Good tolerance, another one. Someone tried to pour me another drink, but was waved away by Ethan's sharp "enough." He was about to step towards me when Cecilia hooked her arm through his. "Ethan, I think Senior Nora has shown enough sincerity. How about this? When I go on stage to perform later, she can join me." Cecilia feigned consideration for me, smiling innocently. "It might be a bit of a step down for Senior Nora to be my backup dancer. What do you think?" "Not necessary." The alcohol was still burning in my stomach, and I could feel the heat rising on my skin. "Cecilia, tonight's performance is being broadcast live online, isn't it? Are you that desperate to crush me? Or are you just so insecure about your own skills that you have to resort to these cheap tricks to feel important?" After holding it in for so long, I finally cast aside all reservations and let out my frustration. Cecilia tugged at Ethan's arm. "Ethan, help me explain. Senior Nora has misunderstood." Ethan's face darkened, his tone full of disappointment. "Nora Darcy, if you want to continue dancing, you will get on that stage today, whether you like it or not. For someone of your status, being Cecilia's backup dancer is something you should be grateful for." Ethan's words were practically an ultimatum, completely shredding the last bit of feeling I had for him. "Ethan, in your eyes, what am I? A toy, a joke? Or just a prop for you and Cecilia to show off your love? I'm done playing this game of trying to please you." I took off the ring on my finger and threw it forcefully at the man whose face had turned livid. Then, in front of everyone, I pulled the divorce papers from my purse and scattered them at Ethan's feet. "Ethan Hawthorne, since you're so eager to cut ties with me, fine, as you wish. Please sign these immediately. From now on, we are done. I wish you and Cecilia the best of luck, and I hope you never appear in my life again." Chapter 8, the divorce papers scattered everywhere. Someone picked one up. "This looks pretty real. Mr. Hawthorne, could it be true?" Ethan's tone was dismissive. "Just some old, cheap trick." He still believed I was just throwing a tantrum. He was so certain I wouldn't leave him. All my resistance and screaming, in Ethan's eyes, were just petty, unreasonable fits. Just like the unconcealed mockery in his eyes as he looked at me now. "Nora Darcy, I suggest you stop before you make things too ugly." I suddenly felt exhausted, a weariness that seeped into my bones. A withered flower is a withered flower. Even if it blooms again, it's not the same one. People are the same. I turned to leave. Crash! Ethan's wine glass fell to the floor. "Nora Darcy, think carefully. If you walk out of here, who will want you? Who would dare to have you?" I don't know what my face looked like then, but it must have been awful, because the jeering crowd fell silent. My vision blurred, and the image of Ethan before me distorted into a demonic shadow. Once again, I felt my soul plummeting. The last time, Ethan had caught me. This time, he was the one pushing me into the abyss. I bit my lower lip hard, until my mouth was filled with the taste of blood. "Oh, Ethan, look, isn't this the glass Senior Nora drank from? It doesn't seem to smell like alcohol." The drink had been poured by Ethan's crony right in front of him. Cecilia's accusation was a clumsy lie, but Ethan chose to believe it. As if he'd found an excuse, he strode forward and grabbed my wrist. Nora Darcy, you disappoint me so much. Go and apologize to Cease. Ethan's tone was cold and impatient. The effects of the alcohol were ravaging my system, and my vision was doubling. I dragged my legs with difficulty, my mind fixated on a single thought: escape. But Ethan wouldn't let me go. A sharp pain shot through my forearm. My strength was nothing compared to his. I couldn't help but cry out in pain. Ethan paused, then pulled even harder. You think I'll be fooled by your little tricks again? I'm telling you, you will get on that stage today, whether you like it or not. Cecilia snickered. Then I'll take Senior Nora to change her clothes. No need, Ethan's voice hammered into my ears, one word at a time. Let her dance in that dress. It'll be a good reminder for her to recognize her place. Something that's already stained can never be washed clean. Ethan's voice was so dismissive. He was deliberately reminding me that my parents were criminals despised by thousands, and that everything I had now was his charity. Without him, I would be nothing. But faced with an Ethan who would use my tragic past as a threat, what was the point of staying? Let go, I violently broke free from his grasp, but lost my balance and fell pathetically to the ground. The allergic reaction was hitting me hard. I felt weak all over, and my throat felt like it was sealed with cement, making it impossible to breathe. Cecilia's voice seemed to come from far away. Ethan, my dance requires some big movements. Senior Nora's dress is so long, it might be a bit restrictive. If she's not changing, maybe we could tear off the bottom half of her skirt. Ethan's hesitation lasted only a moment. Fine. Someone help me hold her down. Many hands reached for me, grabbing at me haphazardly. I was terrified. I wanted to scream, to fight back, but I was like a fish thrown on the shore, capable only of a dying flutter before being left to the mercy of others. No, I screamed silently in my heart. Chapter 9, the person closest to me suddenly let out a short, sharp cry. Hey, who was that? Who the hell do you think you are? A series of curses quickly turned into gasps of surprise. My body suddenly felt light, and I was lifted into a pair of arms that smelled of clean, rich sandalwood. I struggled to open my eyelids. In the blurry chaos, I could just make out a sleeve with a diamond cufflink. Which blind fool dares to mess with me? The abuser who had been pulled away glared angrily at the newcomer. But the next second, he met a pair of ice-cold, dark eyes, and the rest of his words got stuck in his throat. The man holding Nora was nearly 63, with an imposing and aggressive presence. His features were strikingly handsome: long, sharp eyebrows that sliced into his temples, and thick, long lashes that cast an impatient shadow over his face. His lips were pressed into a thin line, and his eyes were chilling. Though he was handsome, the frigid aura he exuded, like a frozen pond, kept everyone at a distance. The first thing Ethan noticed was the man's entourage. Behind him stood a full circle of men in black, all exceptionally tall and imposing, completely different from ordinary bodyguards. To the man's right stood a familiar face: Elder Cunningham, a man Ethan had tried and failed to get a meeting with several times. The silver-haired old man stood with a cane, bowing slightly, his posture humble. Elder Cunningham had been a powerful figure in the city for years, wielding considerable influence. Ethan had never seen him in such a subservient position. A knot formed in Ethan's stomach. He looked at the man with a cautious, probing gaze. Sir, may I ask your name? The man was much taller than Ethan, and his downward glance was filled with contempt. A group of you ganging up on a young woman. Aren't you ashamed? Ethan's expression didn't change. A misunderstanding. She was the one who insisted on staying to be a backup dancer. After all, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for fame. The man sneered. Only the liar himself would believe a lie like that. Elder Cunningham, is this what you call the city's finest? Elder Cunningham's face changed, his tone unable to hide his eagerness to please the man. This is an isolated incident. He gave a dry laugh and turned to Ethan, his face so dark it looked like it was about to drip ink. Young man, broaden your horizons. You were invited to this gala to network, not to participate in a group bullying session. Being publicly reprimanded, Ethan felt a fire of anger build inside him, making him even more curious about the man's identity. He kept glancing at the man, contemplating his next move. Elder Cunningham raised his voice at the right moment. This is Mr. Sterling of the Xingyun Group. Ethan couldn't control the tremor that ran through his body. Xingyun Group. That was a corporate behemoth he absolutely could not afford to offend. This newly appointed Mr. Sterling had single-handedly fought his way out of an ambush in the Amazon rainforest with a team of mercenaries, seizing control of the port city-based Sterling family's business empire as an illegitimate son. He had stabilized the situation in record time and become the new master of Xingyun. Even from across the strait, Ethan had heard plenty of stories about him. This man was, without a doubt, the Grim Reaper himself. A flash of jealousy crossed Ethan's eyes, quickly suppressed by fear. Cecilia, who had been clinging to Ethan, suddenly let go of his arm. "Mr. Sterling, I wonder if you follow entertainment news? A busy man like you probably doesn't have the time. Otherwise, you wouldn't be misunderstanding us like this. My name is Cecilia Vance. I'm a dancer. The woman you're holding is my senior. She's a serial offender, faking marriage certificates and divorce papers. So you're Cecilia Vance?" Dominic Sterling interrupted her. A flicker of joy Cecilia couldn't suppress. "You recognize me?" Onlookers whispered enviously. Mr. Sterling actually knows Cecilia Vance. A beautiful woman's charm is truly unstoppable. She's the dance world's sweetheart. It's not surprising she'd catch Mr. Sterling's eye. "I thought Mr. Hawthorne was impressive, but now a tycoon from Port City shows up. I'm so jealous I could die." Cecilia wore a demure smile. "Have you seen me dance, Mr. Sterling? I don't usually take pictures with men, but for you, I could make an exception." Cecilia tidied her hair and took out her phone, intending to take a selfie with Dominic. Smack before Cecilia could fix her smile, the iPhone in her hand was knocked far away. Chapter 10. The back of Cecilia's hand was bright red. She looked up, ready to protest tearfully, but saw Dominic Sterling gently brush away the curls covering Nora's face. An allergic reaction to alcohol? Dominic's voice seemed to tremble slightly. He no longer held Nora in a restrained, gentlemanly manner. Instead, he swept her up into his arms and turned to leave. "Mr. Sterling," Ethan stepped in front of him. "Where are you taking Nora Darcy?" Dominic looked at him as if he were looking at a dead man. "She's in anaphylactic shock. Can't you see?" Ethan glanced at the woman in his arms and sneered. "Mr. Sterling, you don't know this woman. She's a master actress. She was just drinking water. How could she be having an allergic reaction?" Dominic's chest heaved, as if he were struggling to contain something. Ethan's eyes were still fixed on the motionless Nora. "Stop pretending. If you really don't want to dance, no one is forcing you. Don't act like a victim and mislead Mr. Sterling. Get up now." While Ethan was berating her, one of Dominic's men leaned in and whispered something in his ear. A murderous chill radiated from Dominic. "You said she was drinking water." Ethan replied, "That's right. Cease saw it with her own eyes." Dominic gave a signal, and the nearest black-clad bodyguard quickly strode over to the rich heir who had poured Nora's drink. "Which bottle was it?" The heir was terrified. That one." Apart from the one glass poured for Nora, the bottle was untouched. Dominic glanced at Cecilia. "Since you believe this is water, would you please drink the rest, Miss Vance?" Cecilia's eyes darted away. I didn't get a clear look." Dominic gave her no chance to explain further. "Have Miss Vance drink the water." The bodyguard grabbed Cecilia with one hand and with the other shoved the bottle into her mouth. "Help, help!" Cecilia looked pleadingly at Ethan. Ethan took half a step toward her but was frozen in place by a single look from Elder Cunningham. "Young man, if you want a court death, don't drag me down with you." If Ethan couldn't even read this situation, he didn't deserve his current position. He clenched his fists, his eyes red as he watched Cecilia forced to her knees. Gulp, gulp. Cecilia was force-fed the liquor. Half went down, the other half she choked up. The once bustling and noisy hall was now dead silent, filled only with the sound of her pathetic retching. The elite of the city had unanimously turned into mannequins, no one daring to provoke Dominic Sterling at this moment. Dominic's blade-like gaze swept over those who had bullied Nora earlier. "You all think it was water too?" The ones he stared at felt their legs go weak. No, it was alcohol, definitely alcohol." Right, it was all Cecilia's idea. "We didn't know anything." "I can testify." Cecilia said she was going to make sure Nora Darcy wouldn't be able to get back up today. She also said Ethan Hawthorne would only listen to her. Ethan froze, looking incredulously at Cecilia, who was now on the ground like a dog. "Cease, did you really say that?" Tears and snot streamed down Cecilia's face as she shook her head at him. Dominic clenched his fists, the veins on the back of his hands bulging. Just before his rage exploded, a weak whimper came from the woman in his arms. Dominic immediately frowned with concern. "How are you? Don't be afraid. We're going to the hospital right now." Before leaving, Dominic glanced at the bottles of alcohol on the table. "Since none of you can tell the difference between alcohol and water, I'll help you remember. 1 bottle each, drink it all. Elder Cunningham, I'll trouble you to supervise." Chapter 11. Elder Cunningham respectfully watched Dominic and his entourage leave. When he turned back to the stunned crowd, his smile vanished. "Everyone, please drink up." There were at least a dozen bottles of liquor on the long table. To finish them, it would be 1 bottle per person. Cecilia had just been forced to drink half a bottle, and her face was already pale. Seeing this, she scrambled to hide behind Ethan. The others turned on her. "This is all your fault. Why did you say the alcohol was water? Nora Darcy is allergic to alcohol. How could you force her to drink it? She wanted to leave earlier. We should have just let her go. What was the point of forcing her to stay and dance?" Cecilia clutched Ethan's sleeve, on the verge of tears. "Ethan, believe me, I really did see Senior Nora switch the glasses. Senior is so smart, she would never do anything to harm herself." Ethan's brow furrowed slightly. He believed her. "That's right. She must have been trying to make me feel guilty with this stunt." Elder Cunningham, having watched the drama for a while, was losing his patience. "Young people, figuring out who's to blame is your business. For now, let's get on with the main event." Ethan looked troubled. "Elder Cunningham, the gala is about to start. It would be rude to the hosts if we all get drunk now. Young Hawthorne, do you really think you can just attend this gala as if nothing happened after offending Mr. Sterling?" Everyone's face changed at once. Ethan licked his dry lips. "Elder Cunningham, does Mr. Sterling know Nora Darcy?" Elder Cunningham half closed his eyes. "I only know that this is Mr. Sterling's first time in the city." "So that's it," Ethan said, relieved. "I knew it. Nora couldn't possibly know someone that important." Cecilia sobbed. "Oh no, Senior Nora has caused such a scene, and now Mr. Sterling has misunderstood us. Senior is so reckless, she didn't consider you at all." Ethan's face was a mixture of emotions. "So unreasonable, tap, tap." Elder Cunningham tapped his cane hard twice. "I'll say this one last time. Are you going to drink voluntarily, or do I have to force you?" The first thing I realized when I regained consciousness was that I was in a hospital bed. My phone vibrated on the nightstand. I instinctively reached for it and saw a string of missed calls from Ethan. The latest notifications were all his text messages. "Nora Darcy, you disappoint me so much. I don't expect you to be as considerate as Cece, but at least don't stab me in the back. Choosing to have a secret marriage with you was the best decision I ever made. Are you trying to seduce Dominic Sterling to spite me? I advise you to give up that idea. How could a man like Dominic Sterling possibly be interested in second-hand goods like you? Go and explain things clearly to Dominic Sterling, or don't even think about coming back." I suddenly remembered the deliberate humiliation at the gala. A wave of nausea rose in my throat, and I clutched my chest, coughing uncontrollably. A hand gently landed on my back, helping me catch my breath. "Wan, how are you feeling?" I froze, my eyes wide with fear. What did you call me?" It had been so long since anyone had called me Wan that I had almost forgotten that before I was Nora Darcy, my name was Jiang Wan. The former young heiress of Jianghai Biotechnology, the top student everyone praised. The name from my past brought back painful memories. I reacted violently, pulling my hand back and curling into a ball. "I'm sorry, I scared you." The man's voice trembled. "Don't be afraid, Wan. Take a good look at who I am." Perhaps his soothing was so gentle that my turbulent emotions slowly calmed down. I rubbed my eyes hard, and the man's handsome silhouette gradually merged with the boy from my memory. "Are you Brother Dom?" Chapter 12. When I was 5, my parents took me to a remote mountain village for a charity event. A line of poorly dressed children stood before us, each telling their story of hardship. But my eyes were drawn to the silent boy at the very back of the crowd. Compared to the other children, he was so thin and inconspicuous. But the moment our eyes met, I inexplicably tugged on my father's sleeve. "Daddy, I want that little brother." My father was a notorious softie for his daughter, so he naturally listened to me. And just like that, Dom came back with us to the city. I didn't know his full name, I just followed him around, calling him Brother Dom. Brother Dom was 7 years older than me, and compared to my boisterous nature, he was remarkably mature for his age. He spoke very little and wasn't good at socializing, but he would weave me grasshoppers from bamboo, make me colorful flower crowns, and carry my least favorite school bag. In my eyes, he was like a real brother, the closest person to me besides my parents. However, Brother Dom only lived with us for less than half a year. At the end of that year, I was kidnapped for the nth time and broke my leg while escaping. Brother Dom, his eyes red, stayed by my side all night. The next day, he told my father he was going to a military academy. He left and never came back. I looked at his commanding presence and felt a little happy. Brother Dom, you've grown so tall. So my brother Dom is Dominic Sterling of Xingyun Group? I remembered the name from Ethan's text, feeling both proud and as if it was only natural. He smiled, ruffling my hair just like he used to. I'm sorry, I'm late. I shook my head. It's a good thing you weren't here. Otherwise, you would have been targeted too. After my parents' accident, Jianghai Technology changed hands overnight. I went from being an envied heiress to a target of bullying. No one spoke up for me. They all said the daughter must pay for the father's debts. My parents had sinned, so I should bear the consequences. Thus, bullying me became the most righteous act. That past was too heavy. I genuinely felt it was better if one less person had to suffer. Dominic's gaze darkened, his face filled with guilt. It was my fault. If I had been faster, your parents wouldn't have. Don't blame yourself, I interrupted. Even if you were there, you couldn't have changed what happened. Dominic pursed his lips. Wan, actually, knock, knock. A knock on the door interrupted him, and my gaze was drawn to the entrance. Mr. Sterling, Miss. Darcy, the man who entered first nodded to me, then handed a tablet to Dominic. Someone online is deliberately distorting the truth about the gala and organizing a smear campaign against Miss Darcy. It's already a top trending topic. I frowned, about to check my phone, but Dominic put his arm around my shoulders, pulling me closer. Let's look together. Most of my back was pressed against Dominic's chest. The faint scent of sandalwood filled my nostrils, and I glanced at him, feeling a bit awkward. He was staring intently at the tablet, his expression serious and composed. I couldn't help but feel silly for my own awkwardness. This was Brother Dom. No matter how many years we'd been apart, no matter what kind of CEO he had become, he was still the same Brother Dom who would weave grasshoppers and flower crowns for me. I shouldn't be overthinking this. I composed myself and focused on the screen. Chapter 13, the clickbait media outlets were spreading a video from the red carpet. At the time, I was being dragged by a bodyguard because of my injured foot. They had maliciously edited it to make it look like I was shamelessly crashing the event. Meme-loving netizens had created GIFs for me, complete with insulting captions. Clinger and shameless bitch only wants to be famous. Besides the video, the trending topics were flooded with photos of me holding a wine glass, trying to talk to former collaborators. Wow, not only is she a sham marriage tramp, she's also actively seeking to be kept. She really lives up to the name. LOL, all those executives she approached ran away. She's both a jinx and a tramp. That pathetic look, I almost feel sorry for her. Why don't you come to Big Bro? I can afford $1 a night. Seriously, she should just become a prostitute. The netizens' anger peaked when a video of Cecilia being taken to the hospital for stomach pumping surfaced. If before it was just memeing and bandwagon hate, it now turned into outright malicious curses. Just then, Cecilia updated her social media with 2 photos. One was a hospital medical record, the other was of 2 hands clasped together. The matching diamond rings on their middle fingers were deliberately placed in the most conspicuous position. And that ring was the very one I had chosen for our 7th wedding anniversary. Because it required a personal appointment at an overseas flagship store, Ethan thought it was unnecessary, and the plan was shelved. Now it was on Cecilia's hand. She wrote, "The result of being entangled with a lunatic is a midnight trip to the hospital for a stomach pump. Luckily, I have a lover who is always there to protect me, Ethan Hawthorne." Almost immediately, Ethan liked and reposted. "My dear, don't let a lunatic ruin your mood. Don't forget, you're meant to shine on stage, while some people are destined to rot in the gutter." The comments were full of people tagging me, cursing me for everything. The top liked comments were from verified accounts of celebrities. They, as my former colleagues, recounted fabricated stories of me bullying them in the workplace. Among them were junior colleagues I had been close to and a poor young man I had sponsored out of sympathy. There was even my supposed best friend, with whom I had shared countless meals. My fingers trembled, and I wanted to click on the collapsed comment section in agony. "Don't look." Dominic took my hand and held it tightly. "Juan, they are not worthy." I squeezed his hand back, gradually tightening my grip. "No, I need to remember their faces as they are now, just like when my family's company collapsed. The same people who had once put me on a pedestal couldn't wait to smash me to pieces to play the victim. I had been burned before, yet I still gave my trust away too easily. Brother Dom, am I an idiot?" Dominic carefully wiped the tears from my cheeks. "Juan, when a flower blooms in the mud, there will always be vile insects jealous of its beauty, trying everything to devour and destroy it. The fault is not with the flower, but with those disgusting insects. From now on, I will be the wall that lifts you up. You just focus on growing upwards and blooming brightly." "Thank you, Brother Dom," I said, pulling out my SIM card and throwing it into the trash without a second thought. "You're right, I need to say goodbye to the past. Whether it was the joy of my youth or the salvation in my despair, none of it should be a reason for Ethan to hurt me. We went from supporting each other to being complete strangers. Not exposing his affair was the last act of kindness I could offer." Chapter 14. Dominic was a man of action. With a single phone call, he had the gala organizers hastily release the complete, unedited video footage. It showed both the attack on me by Cecilia's fans on the red carpet and the scene inside where Ethan and his cronies were pressuring me. Soon after, my former colleagues who had slandered me with accusations of workplace bullying received legal notices and termination letters one after another. They lost their jobs before they could even profit from my misery. Ethan, the instigator of it all, faced an even greater blow. I heard his entire production line had run into problems. Dominic told me that Ethan was desperately trying to find out where I was. "If he apologizes and admits he was wrong, what will you do?" As he asked this, Dominic was gently rubbing his temples, a habit of his when he was nervous or anxious. I placed a freshly baked cake in front of him. "Ethan will never think he did anything wrong." A bit of cream stuck to Dominic's thin, sensual lips, creating a cute contrast. "Why do you say that? There were signs before," I said with a cynical smile. "I just got used to being a coward. From the first time he was caught kissing Cecilia by the media, and I confronted him in tears, only for him to call me immature and take her to see the Northern Lights. I knew some changes were beyond my control. I had anticipated Ethan's arrogance, but I never expected his counterattack would be to set off a grand fireworks display for Cecilia and then propose to her in a high-profile manner. Under the deliberate guidance of paid commenters, many netizens once again turned their criticism towards me. Although Mr. Hawthorne was a bit harsh at the gala that night, anyone would get annoyed being pestered by a lunatic. Yeah, Nora Darcy totally brought it on herself. Dominic was always quick to hear news about me. As soon as he saw the tide turning, he wanted to intervene, but I stopped him in time. "I'll handle this myself," I told him calmly. "Ethan and I need to have a final resolution." Ethan had exhausted the last shred of my gratitude. This time, I wouldn't be soft-hearted. I compiled all the moments from our years together into a PowerPoint presentation and posted it online. This was originally a surprise birthday gift I had been secretly preparing for him. Exposing it this way was, in a sense, delivering it right into his hands. Amidst the uproar, I posted our marriage certificate again. This time, the top comment was a verification from an official at the marriage registry. They are a real couple. I processed their application. The couple has been married for 7 years. I can understand Mr. Hawthorne choosing a secret marriage for his career, but proposing to Miss Vance while still married is illegal, just so you know. Dominic, with his incredible resources, managed to get a video of Ethan having dinner with the head of the Crimson River Dance Company. The footage of him arrogantly using an investment as bait to get the lead dancer replaced quickly spread across the internet. The faithful lover turned into a scumbag, and the pure, innocent white moonlight became a homewrecker everyone despised. The entire reversal seemed to happen in an instant. It turned out that letting go wasn't as hard as I had imagined. I left a comment under Ethan's proposal post to Cecilia. Congratulations, but don't forget to divorce me first. Shortly after I posted it, Ethan deleted the proposal video. He then sent me a private message. Let's meet and talk. Chapter 15, I replied with one word. Okay. There had to be a final resolution between Ethan and me. The meeting place was set at Jade Summit. When we first settled in the city, Ethan used to take me on dates to the mountain. Back then, we couldn't spare a single extra penny, so he would pick wildflowers from the mountaintop to weave into crowns and necklaces for me. Later, when our situation improved slightly, he would donate to the temple on the mountain on my birthday. He had once knelt before the Buddha statue, praying devoutly. Bodhisattva, please grant my Wan peace and happiness. The words still echoed in my ears, but everything had changed. Ethan looked at my leg. Your injury hasn't fully healed. Why didn't you let me pick you up? I couldn't help but retort sarcastically. When my leg was even worse, weren't you forcing me to be a backup dancer for your precious Cecilia? Ethan faltered, a look of embarrassment on his face. Nora, I was wrong about that. I apologize. But you can't just disregard my situation and rashly expose everything online. Do you know how much the company lost this time? All my years of hard work have been almost completely destroyed. Ethan grew more agitated as he spoke, and the initial guilt vanished. I watched him calmly, waiting to see what other outrageous things he could say. Let's just forget about the past, Ethan let out a breath. I guess I was just unlucky to have married you. He still spoke with extreme confidence. The money we lost can be earned back, but you've almost completely ruined Cease's reputation. Ethan studied my expression. Seeing that I didn't argue, a smirk appeared on his lips. Nora, post a statement online. Say that our marriage was already over in all but name, and that we had already agreed to divorce. Cecilia is not the other woman. This was the biggest joke I had heard all year. Ethan, do you think the netizens are fools? If we had already agreed to a divorce, why would I have posted the marriage certificate? Ethan frowned, as always. You can say you still had feelings for me and couldn't let go, so you acted out of spite. My contempt must have been too obvious, because Ethan uncomfortably looked away. Don't worry, I promise I won't say anything reckless to the media this time. Haven't you always wanted to go to Paris? After this is handled, I'll go with you. No, thanks, I replied coldly. I can't afford a trip with Mr. Hawthorne. You should save it for Cecilia. Ethan sighed. You're still jealous. Nora Darcy, don't you know how annoying it is when you're being so difficult? Whether you want to go to Paris or not is up to you. Just remember to hold a press conference after we leave here and clear things up. The most important thing is Dominic Sterling. You need to explain things to him too. Ethan's shamelessness completely shattered my perception of him. I took a deep breath. Ethan, why should I sacrifice my reputation to protect a cheating husband and a shameless mistress? Ethan's face darkened. Nora Darcy, do you have to be so harsh? I'm just stating the facts. If you don't want things to get too ugly, I took out the divorce papers I had prepared, then signed them. Ethan stared at the papers, his gaze shifting from initial shock to arrogant mockery. Nora Darcy, do you think you can threaten me with a divorce? That I'll be helpless. Get it straight. Without me, you're still the despised Jiang Wan. When he said that last sentence, the heart I thought had already turned to ice shattered once more. Ethan glanced at me sideways. You don't really think Dominic Sterling helped you because he's interested in you, do you? Ha ha ha, his laughter was filled with malice. Nora Darcy, you're not young anymore. Besides, a man like Dominic Sterling would never be interested in a worn-out piece of trash like you. Chapter 16, Slap. I slapped Ethan across the face. You make me sick. My hand was still trembling slightly. The feel of my palm against his skin was instinctively repulsive. I scrubbed my hand furiously, almost rubbing the skin raw. Ethan's eyes blazed with fire. Sick. You weren't saying that when you were begging me like a bitch in bed, were you? He grabbed me forcefully. If you want to have sex, just say so. Why play these hard-to-get games? Let's go to the car, I'll satisfy you. I couldn't break free. Just as his lips were about to press against mine, I raised my knee and kneed him in the groin. Nora Darcy, Ethan was furious. You've got guts. Let's see how you get down this mountain on your own. With that, he stormed off and drove away. Jade Summit was in the suburbs. The mountain was relatively flat, with a road leading all the way to the temple entrance. I had taken a cab up the mountain. I blame myself for not checking the weather forecast yesterday. In just a short time, it started pouring rain. I opened the ride-sharing app. As expected, there were no cars willing to accept the ride. I was about to take shelter in the temple when a familiar black SUV burst through the rain and stopped in front of me. Dominic stepped out of the car, the umbrella he held tilted completely over my head. I was a little surprised. "Brother Dom, what are you doing here? I've been following you since you left. I guessed you were coming to see Ethan, and I was worried." Dominic naturally draped his jacket over my shoulders. It was still warm with his body heat. It had been so long since anyone had cared for me like this. A warmth spread through my heart. "It's okay, I can handle it. By the way, Brother Dom, did you run into Ethan just now?" Dominic's expression was disdainful. "Not only did I run into him, he tried to run my car off the road." My heart tightened. "Are you okay? That flashy, useless sports car of his, daring to mess with my modified SUV?" There was a hint of pride in Dominic's tone, which gave his mature, stern features a rare boyish look. For a moment, time rewound, and I thought I saw the young boy who used to secretly buy me lollipops. Dominic picked up the divorce papers from the ground. "Ethan didn't agree?" "No," I said, frustrated. "I really don't know what he's thinking. Since we already despise each other, why is he holding on so tightly? He's just a bastard who wants to have his cake and eat it too." After cursing, Dominic carefully watched my reaction. When he saw that I wasn't upset, a faint look of joy appeared in his eyes. "Ethan must have planned this, asking you to meet on such a remote mountain. He deliberately wanted to make things difficult for you." "Not really," I smiled. "We used to have dates here." Dominic's face fell. "What could you possibly do here? Just walk around, burn some incense at the temple, that kind of thing." Dominic suddenly took my hand. "Let's go, I want to visit the temple too." It had been 2 years since Ethan and I had been here, but the temple's abbot still recognized me at a glance. "Benefactor, your complexion is rosy and your spirit is clear. You must have found your true destiny. This is truly a joyous occasion." Dominic returned the gesture. "Master, how much has Ethan Hawthorne donated to the temple?" "I'll give 100 times that amount." The lavishly generous Dominic not only became the top donor on the list, but also received 2 Bodhi bead bracelets. He slipped one onto my wrist. "Juan, from now on, no more storms." I touched the beads. As I casually looked up, I saw Ethan, who had returned. Chapter 17, to be precise, it was Ethan and Cecilia. It seemed that while Ethan was apologizing to me on the mountain, Cecilia had been waiting at the foot. What was this? A balancing act between the wife and the concubine? Another wave of psychological nausea hit me. I took Dominic's arm. "Let's go, quickly." Ethan walked over quickly. "Mr. Sterling, could I have a few minutes of your time?" "No." Dominic's refusal was firm and decisive. "Mr. Sterling." Cecilia's voice was so sweet it was almost dripping. "Please give us a chance." "No." Dominic's voice grew even colder. Cecilia was speechless. Ethan turned to me. "Nora, tell me, isn't there a misunderstanding between us?" He gave me a rare, gentle smile, my reflection in his pupils, as if I were still his whole world. I was momentarily dazed. My body's memory reacted faster than my thoughts, and I almost nodded instinctively. Dominic pinched the back of my neck. I jolted, nearly slapping myself in the face. Ethan's smile was on the verge of collapsing. "Nora, don't forget what you promised me." "What did I promise you?" I found Ethan ridiculous. "Since you want to hear it again, I'll say it one more time. You broke your vows, you cheated on me during our marriage. Cecilia knowingly became the other woman and hired trolls to slander me. I will never forgive what you both did at the gala." Both Ethan and Cecilia's faces turned ugly. Dominic, however, seemed pleased. He put his arm around me and pushed past the blocking Ethan. "I wish you and Miss Vance a long and happy life together. A perfect match of scoundrel and bitch." Facing Dominic, Ethan couldn't vent his anger, so he just stared at me hatefully. "Nora Darcy, are you really going to debase yourself like this?" I felt Dominic's arm muscles suddenly tense. I quickly grabbed his wrist. "Ignore him." The greatest contempt is to ignore. When dealing with the current Ethan, ignoring him was enough. Over the next few days, I completely ignored him. Ethan didn't have my new number, and I had blocked him on all social media platforms. Even if he wanted to contact me, he had no way to do so. I spent my days at Dominic's half-mountain villa, tending to flowers and birds, feeling time slow down. The next time I heard about Ethan was on a dance variety show I liked. After a few contestants had just finished performing, the host announced a mysterious guest. Then, Cecilia appeared on stage. I was surprised by her appearance, but not overly so. She had always been good at marketing herself. The title of the dance world's White Moonlight was something she had created herself. Recently, she had to keep a low profile due to public opinion. But with Cecilia's personality, she would never be content with the status quo. And here she was, making her presence known. Cecilia wore a simple white slip dress, her face made up with a difficult no-makeup look, smiling bravely and fearlessly at the camera. I know I've made some mistakes and hurt innocent people. No matter how I try to defend myself, these mistakes cannot be forgiven. But even in this difficult situation, I will not regret my choice. True love is not a crime. Suppressing one's true feelings is a cruel thing for both him and me. I will do my best to make amends to the people I have unintentionally hurt in the days to come, but I will not give up on Ethan. Because true love is not a crime. Her words were dripping with manipulative sweetness, which was her usual style. She said she was going to perform a dance called Love Without Regrets. Until that moment, I had been casually glancing at the screen. But when the intro music started and Cecilia began to move, I shot up from my seat. That dance was mine, Chapter 18, a few months ago. After winning a major dance award, a television station invited me to prepare a solo dance for their New Year's Eve gala. The new year is a particularly important time for everyone, and I was no exception. More personally, I wanted to use this dance to tell my deceased parents that I was doing well, that I was strong, and I believe in you. Therefore, for this dance, I had turned down several other performances. During that time, I locked myself in my home dance studio every day, choreographing and perfecting the movements. When the entire dance was complete, I only performed it for Ethan. He had even recorded it on his phone, saying he wanted to watch it over and over again. So, Ethan had given this dance, into which I had poured months of my heart and soul, to Cecilia. How dare he? I was so angry my chest ached. Ethan knew what this dance meant to me, yet he deliberately gave it to Cecilia as a weapon for her comeback. Disgusting, despicable, what was even worse was that this program was a rerun. The live broadcast had been last night. Everyone who was going to see it had already seen it. I trembled as I took out my phone and opened my social media. As expected, Cecilia's reputation had made a huge comeback. Especially after a heavyweight dancer praised her choreography, her fans seized the opportunity to chant the slogan, "True love is not a crime," and flooded my account with moral blackmail. Senior Nora, Cece has already admitted her mistake. You are her senior, you won't hold a grudge, right? Actually, Cece isn't really at fault. She just met the right person at the wrong time. If you ask me, isn't Nora Darcy also responsible for this? She couldn't keep Mr. Hawthorne's heart. Who can she blame? Exactly, our Cece is a victim of her own talent. Fans who still supported Cecilia, knowing she was the other woman, had no moral compass to speak of. I wouldn't care what this group of people said. I just wanted to reveal the truth. My finger was already hovering over the post button, but I forced myself to stop. Since Cecilia dared to perform it on the show, they must have been prepared for me to expose them. If I blindly rushed in now, they might turn it around and frame me. Or perhaps Ethan had deliberately set a trap for me to fall into. I quickly calmed down, sent a text to Dominic, and then headed to my old home. I thought Ethan wouldn't be there at this time, so when I opened the door and saw the two of them kissing, I couldn't help but freeze. Ethan released Cecilia, deliberately licking his lips suggestively. Don't you know to knock before you enter? It's only been a few days since you left me, and you've already lost your manners. I chuckled coldly. I didn't expect it either. It's only been a few days since we separated, and Mr. Hawthorne has already stooped to being a shameless thief. Ethan raised an eyebrow. So you did come back because of this. What else? To watch you two in action, Ethan sighed. Nora, it's just a dance. You can choreograph a new one. There's no need to be so harsh. Besides, this is your home. After you've had your fit, you should come back. The moment you brought Cecilia upstairs for the night, this stopped being my home. Ethan's expression changed. You knew all along? I glanced at Cecilia. She was clearly a little nervous. Cecilia gave me a live broadcast of your first night together. You said it was exciting, having an affair right above my head. While I was running a 102-degree fever, making him a complicated stomach-soothing porridge, this man, who was supposed to be at a business dinner, was upstairs, right above my head, seeking excitement. Chapter 19, Ethan turned to look at Cecilia. Is that true? Of course not, Cecilia retorted tearfully. I wouldn't dare provoke Senior Nora like that, not in a million years. She cried as she spoke, looking utterly pathetic. Ethan was completely taken in by her act and immediately softened his tone. All right, it didn't happen. Stop crying. He turned to me, his face filled with disappointment. Nora, I know you're angry that I gave your dance to cease, but you've practically ruined her career. Haven't you had your revenge? Why do you still have to slander her like this? Behind Ethan, Cecilia wore a triumphant expression, looking at me provocatively. She was telling me that Ethan's trust was entirely hers, with not a single shred left for me, his wife of 7 years. Suppressing my anger, I walked towards the dance studio. Ethan and Cecilia followed me. When they saw me pick up a potted plant from the windowsill and head for the door, Ethan frowned. Where are you going now? You don't think I'm planning to move back in, do you? I sneered. I just remembered I left a succulent here and didn't want it to be tainted by the foul air of a thief and a whore. Ethan looked annoyed. Nora Darcy, I'm not taking your things for free. I've already contacted the Crimson River Dance Company for you. The lead role is still yours, and there are several dance variety shows lined up. You're not losing out. I laughed. Ethan, in all these opportunities you've arranged for me, is Cecilia included in every single one? I'm the lead dancer, she's the backup. I'm on a variety show, she's also a guest. And you're counting on me not to lose my temper on camera, trying to use me to whitewash her reputation? Ethan, how can you be so despicable? Nora Darcy, Ethan, embarrassed and enraged, kicked the coffee table next to him. The juice on it spilled, about to drip onto the carpet. Cecilia quickly went to clean it up. I glanced at the cloth in her hand and my eyes widened. Stop, I rushed over and snatched the pink checkered cloth from the stunned Cecilia's hand. The once pink and white cloth was now stained with yellowish-gray grime. The embroidered character, Juan in the corner, was even worn through. Cecilia, who told you to use this as a rag? I demanded sharply. Cecilia was startled. What are you doing? It's just a rag, I just grabbed it. Ethan, look at her, Nora Darcy, Ethan said coldly. Don't push your luck. Ethan, my voice trembled. I looked for this handkerchief for so long. Don't tell me you don't recognize it. Ethan's gaze finally shifted to my hand. He froze. I wasn't paying attention. Why did you leave it lying around? How can you say that? I clutched the handkerchief tightly, my eyes red. When my mother embroidered this for me, you saw it and said you wanted to add the character for Sheng next to Juan. How could you not recognize it? And you, I glared at Cecilia. Ethan doesn't remember because he has no heart. But you, there were so many other rags to use, yet you had to find the one with my name on it. Are you telling me you didn't do it on purpose? Oh, I really didn't look closely, Cecilia said, apologizing with a smile on her face. If I had known it was your mother's, I wouldn't have used it as a rag. Oh, I think I might have used it as a cloth to wipe my feet at first. I couldn't take it anymore. I slapped Cecilia across the face. Ah, Ethan, save me. A sharp pain shot through my scalp as my hair was yanked. I was thrown aside, and the flower pot I was holding shattered on the floor. Ethan pushed past me to hold the crying Cecilia. Nora Darcy, your killer mother's leftover junk. What's wrong with using it as a rag? My mind exploded. Clutching the handkerchief in one hand and a sharp shard of the flower pot in the other, only one thought remained in my mind. Die, you all just die, Chapter 20. Before I could lose control and charge forward, a figure moved faster than me. In my blurry vision, I saw him kick Ethan, sending him flying several feet away. Cecilia's screams echoed in my ears, along with the dull thud of fists hitting flesh. These sounds pulled me back from the brink. I rubbed my eyes, and my vision gradually cleared. A few steps away, Dominic was pinning Ethan down and beating him. Ethan wasn't weak, but in front of Dominic, he was completely powerless. I stared in a daze for a moment before I finally snapped out of it. Brother Dom, stop hitting him. I rushed forward and hugged the enraged man. Dominic was still furious, breathing heavily, his gaze fixed menacingly on Ethan. Which hand did you use to hit her? Ethan hadn't yet recovered from the fear of being completely overpowered by Dominic. Even though he had heard of Dominic's reputation, only after experiencing it firsthand did he realize the rumors weren't exaggerated at all. "Mr. Sterling," Ethan's mouth was bruised, "barging into my house and assaulting me like this, isn't that a bit too arrogant?" "This is what you call arrogant?" Dominic radiated a murderous aura, his dark brows as fierce as the Grim Reaper's. "Let me show you what real violence is." He glanced at the row of black-clad bodyguards by the door. "Cripple his hand?" Ethan forced himself to remain calm. "This is a society of law and order. Don't act recklessly. You're a man of status. It's not worth it for a second-hand woman like Nora Darcy." A short blade slid out of the bald bodyguard's sleeve. Just as he was about to strike, Ethan finally panicked. "Nora Darcy, stop him!" His shout finally brought me to my senses. "Brother Dom, don't." Dominic looked down at me, his eyes filled with stubborn disapproval. I took a deep breath and looked at Ethan without any emotion. "You saved me, and you hurt me. After today, we're even." Ethan looked dazed for a moment, as if hesitating. Dominic gestured to a bodyguard who brought over the divorce papers. He had them ready all along. "Sign it." Dominic's voice left no room for argument. A pen was forced into Ethan's hand, and a bodyguard pressed his shoulder, forcing him towards the table. The divorce papers were right in front of him. Ethan's hand, holding the pen, froze above the paper. "Nora Darcy, do you really want to divorce me?" I looked at him, as if looking at an irreversible river of time. "Ethan Hawthorne, I don't owe you anything anymore. Let's part on good terms. It's the least we can do for the love we once had." Ethan angrily tried to stand up, but the powerful bodyguard pushed him back down. "Fine. You're really something." Ethan signed his name with vengeful force. "Nora Darcy, listen to me. I, Ethan Hawthorne, will never go back on my word." I took the papers and let out a long sigh of relief. What a coincidence. "Neither will I." I folded the handkerchief my mother had embroidered and put it in my pocket, then picked up the shattered succulent from the floor. Finally, I looked back at Ethan one last time. "Remember to remove my fingerprint from the door. And Cecilia, if you don't want things to get too ugly, please step forward and admit to your theft." On the way back in the car, Dominic held my hand tightly. His face was so dark it scared me, and I felt a little guilty. "Brother Dom, you don't have to worry about me. I can handle it." "You can handle it." Dominic suddenly flipped over, trapping me between his arms. "If I had been a step later, were you planning to fight Ethan to the death?" Juan, do you know how scared I was when I saw you grab that shard of pottery?" I stared blankly into Dominic's dark eyes, which were filled with a storm of emotions, like a tempest stirring up black waves. Juan, you should be on a stage under the spotlight, not tainted by dust. I'll handle the things that happen in the shadows." The car entered a tunnel, and the outside world suddenly went dark. Dominic leaned down and kissed me forcefully. Chapter 21, the tunnel was 600 meters long, and the streetlights outside occasionally illuminated Dominic's face. I could see his expression, so restrained yet so focused. Before I could fully process the kiss, the sudden brightness of the outside world made Dominic pull back. We were out of the tunnel. "I'm sorry," his voice was a little hoarse. "I didn't scare you, did I?" My ears felt hot, and I shook my head in embarrassment. "And no, I've never been with another woman before." Dominic seemed even more nervous than I was. My technique might be a bit lacking. I was mortified. "Brother Dom," from where I was sitting, I could see the driver's grin stretching from ear to ear. Dominic chuckled softly. "Does Juan hate it?" I was silent. I really didn't want to answer this question in front of someone else. But when I saw the flickering anticipation in Dominic's eyes, I couldn't bring myself to stay silent. "I don't hate it." My voice was so low I could barely hear it myself. A smile blossomed on Dominic's face, like a snow-covered mountain suddenly welcoming spring. "It's all in the past." Dominic gently tickled my palm. "Congratulations on your new life." "Thank you." I couldn't help but feel a little shy. The atmosphere in the car was a bit awkward, so Dominic tactfully changed the subject. "Did you get what you needed?" I untied a micro camera from the succulent. "Yes, they didn't notice it, just as I thought." I had attached a camera to the succulent to review my movements. The videos were all stored on the memory card. From perfecting individual movements to stringing them together into a sequence, even a novice could tell who the creator of this dance was. I didn't rush to post the video online to prove my case. Instead, I gave Cecilia some time to admit her mistake. Putting her character aside, Cecilia's professional skills were indeed impressive. Especially in our country, she was considered one of the top dancers. I knew how serious this incident was. Once I exposed it, she would undoubtedly be blacklisted by the entire industry. With a touch of regret for the loss of talent, I decided to give her a chance. It turns out, sometimes you really can't be a saint. I didn't get an admission from Cecilia. Instead, I saw her trending. She had taken pictures of the messy room and the signed divorce papers and posted them on her social media. The caption read, "No matter the cost, I finally got the result I wanted. Let's walk the flowery path together from now on." The comments were a mix of everything. Did Mr. Hawthorne divorce Nora Darcy? Did that woman refuse to leave? The room is a total mess. Sigh, she's being so difficult. Maybe she was the one who relentlessly pursued Mr. Hawthorne in the first place. That's why I say, if you're not truly in love, there's no point in forcing it. Just step aside and make it easier for everyone. I kind of ship Mr. Hawthorne and Cecilia. A true love that has overcome all obstacles. Cecilia was a master of manipulating public opinion. Under her deliberate guidance, I once again became the old witch who couldn't get over her love in the eyes of the netizens. Dominic's murderous aura was palpable. He said nothing but stood up to leave. I grabbed his hand. This is a society of law and order. Don't resort to violence. She's digging her own grave. You don't need to get involved. I was about to upload the video when I saw that Cecilia had already tagged me in a post. "Senior Nora, I can meet all your conditions, except for one. I will never admit to plagiarizing love without regrets. First, although I came between you and Mr. Hawthorne, I still have my pride as a dancer. Second, this is a dance I created for Ethan, and it has a special meaning. I know words are not enough, so let's both participate in dancer show, perform the same dance, and let the audience be the judge. Senior Nora, I hope your leg isn't injured, is it?" Chapter 22, Cecilia was doing this on purpose. She knew my leg injury hadn't fully healed, yet she proposed a live showdown to get the upper hand. Now, even if I just stated the facts, the public wouldn't believe me. Then, with a little guidance from her, it would look like I was seeking revenge. Cecilia had calculated everything, but she hadn't anticipated that I had a video that could prove my case. I finished writing my post, my finger hovering over the send button. One gentle press, and the truth would be out. But suddenly, I didn't want to expose her so easily. The name Cecilia, along with the person herself, deserved to be nailed to the pillar of shame. Not just buzzing around me like a grasshopper in autumn. I canceled the post and instead typed 3 words, "See you on stage." Thanks to the showdown between me and Cecilia, Dancer Show became the hottest variety show of the season. The show's director approached me to discuss the contract and stage effects. He was very sincere and professional about the stage requirements. After a few meetings, we got along quite well. He offered to take on the responsibility of setting up my stage. I thought about it and shared my entire design concept with him. He promised, "Leave it all to me. I guarantee you'll be satisfied." The day before the live show, Cecilia posted a set of photos on her social media showing the completed stage set. And that stage was clearly my creation. Cecilia shamelessly captioned it, "This is my battle." The comments were full of praise. "Wow, this is amazing. Is this the pinnacle of stage design in our country? There are so many elements. Every detail is so well thought out, especially that white rose in the center of the stage. It's legendary. My Queen Cease might have had a rough love life, but her professional skills are top-notch. No one can deny that, right?" The stage concepts for Dancer Show were provided by the performers themselves, so the public assumed Cecilia had designed it. She didn't deny it. She even tagged a bunch of big names in stage design on her social media, as well as an international-level dance troupe. Finally, she posted a no-makeup photo after rehearsal. In the photo, a group of staff members stood in the back, surrounding Ethan and Cecilia in the front. They looked directly at the camera, their cheeks pressed together, their eyes filled with blossoming love. The shippers went wild, lining up to call him brother-in-law and son-in-law. Someone asked in the comments, "Did brother-in-law spend a lot of money this time?" Ethan replied with a smiley face, "I'm happy to spend money on the woman I love." Now, even more people started sending me private messages. Did you hear that? Mr. Hawthorne is only willing to spend his money on Cease. Don't even think about getting a penny, lady. The one who isn't loved is the third wheel. You should just back off. You old witch, ruining my ship's relationship. Can't you have some decency? I simply turned off my private messages and called the show's director. Why did you steal my stage concept for Cecilia? Miss Darcy, I don't know what you're talking about. Miss Vance's stage was entirely prepared by her. It has nothing to do with anyone else. While I sympathize with your situation of being abandoned, love is a gamble. I hope you won't make baseless accusations. Otherwise, we will take legal action. I chuckled coldly and hung up. A little while later, a text came from an unknown number. Nora Darcy, give up? You can't win. I didn't reply. I just blocked the number. Chapter 23, on the day of the live show, I didn't let Dominic drive me to the TV station. When Ethan saw me get out of a taxi, he mocked me without reservation. Nora Darcy, did you fail to hook Dominic Sterling, or did he just dump you after playing with you? I walked around him. Ethan spread his arms to block me. Nora, your leg isn't healed. You can't win this dance today. I looked at him coldly. I could beat her with one leg. Ethan sneered. It seems I've really spoiled you these past few years. You've become so arrogant again. Do you need me to remind you of what happened back then? When everyone was against you, you were so desperate you knelt at my feet, begging me not to leave. You even had to ask my permission to buy a bottle of water. Have you forgotten all that? My tone remained calm. Ethan, you never saw or remembered how much I loved you. You only remember my desperation, only that you once saved me. Ethan's brow furrowed, and he instinctively wanted to argue, but I didn't give him the chance. I've paid back what I owed you. If you have any conscience left, you shouldn't interfere in my business with Cecilia. Cease is my person, Ethan said lazily. I'm just looking out for my own. Is that wrong? I nodded. Yes, you're right. A flicker of light appeared in Ethan's eyes. You know I've always been protective of my own. If you were still my person, I could help you too. How would you help? By publicly calling Cecilia a thief? Ethan pursed his lips. If you back out of the show now, I'll compensate you with other opportunities later. I'll also manage the online narrative for you. I pushed his hand away. Trash. Nora Darcy, you forced me to do this. I walked into the elevator without looking back, shutting out his voice. I knew Ethan was determined to make me lose this time. The stage design, sound effects, backup dancers all were from internationally renowned teams. He had also bribed the director and judges of Dancer Show. Miss Darcy, this is your stage. My old acquaintance, Director Woods, led me to a long, unused, old studio. Since you didn't communicate with us about the stage setup, we haven't arranged anything. Oh, and this sound system seems to have a bad connection, but we don't have any spares right now. Perhaps Miss Darcy could just make do. I looked at the gloating Director Woods and smiled faintly. After being Cecilia's lapdog for 5 years, you finally got to sleep with her. Feeling proud? Director Woods's face changed instantly. What nonsense are you talking about? Enjoy your last day of work. I pushed past him and went up to the rooftop. According to the schedule, Cecilia was supposed to perform first, then it would be my turn. But I was no longer willing to wait for this rot to the core production team. I pushed open the rooftop door, took out the mini speaker I had prepared, set up my phone, and started a live stream. Hello everyone, I'm Nora Darcy. I'm sorry to have to meet you all this way, but as a dancer, I want to tell you all that a truly moving dance doesn't need any fancy decorations. The real name of this dance is the Unbreakable Rose in the Rain. I took off my jacket, revealing a tattered red dress underneath and a white bandage wrapped around my ankle. A rose blooming in the rainy night, who can break your beauty? I rose onto my toes and leaped into the rain. Chapter 24, on the lavishly decorated stage, an oblivious Cecilia, dressed in her white battle gown, was still dancing with confidence. In the backstage control room, however, Ethan was glued to another live stream. The fiery red figure on the screen needed no lights or stage effects. She herself embodied the beauty of the dance. The official live stream of the show was rapidly losing viewers. The audience, like Ethan, had all flocked to the other, private live stream. The comments almost completely obscured the red figure. I'm not cultured enough for this. All I can say is holy SD. Incredible. After watching Nora's dance, Cecilia looks like a clumsy copycat. I was wondering why Cecilia was so quick to accuse Nora of forcing her to admit to plagiarism. Turns out she was the thief crying foul. Did you guys notice? Nora is putting all her weight on one foot, as if she's really injured. If the injury is fake, her ability to dance as if it's real shows her incredible skill. If it's real, then completing these difficult moves on one leg is simply amazing. Whether she's really injured or not, I just want to say, Nora Darcy has been seriously underestimated. A judge nervously asked the stone-faced Ethan, "Mr. Hawthorne, given the situation, how should we score this later?" Ethan tore his eyes away with difficulty. "Stick to the original plan." But the audience's reaction, "You are the experts." Ethan's mood was foul. "Isn't it up to you to decide how to judge?" After the dance, I let out the breath I had been holding in and went to the dressing room to change into clean clothes. By the time I was ready and checked the show's live stream again, I saw the bribed judges racking their brains to praise Cecilia while doing their best to belittle me. Cecilia's dance is true art. In terms of technique and emotional expression, Nora Darcy was just using old tricks to get attention. I smirked, not at all hurt by the negative comments. These high and mighty artists always thought they were superior and could fool the public. But as I had said, even if you don't understand dance, the feeling of beauty is universal. Between me and Cecilia, it was obvious who had plagiarized whom. I checked the comments, and sure enough, everyone felt the same way. They were all cursing the show for being so shameless. So, dancer show, planned for Cecilia to win from the start. That's terrifying. Such a grand stage, such a top-tier team, and yet she still lost to Nora Darcy with just a mini speaker. Honestly, I'm embarrassed for Cecilia. I really want to ask these judges, how does crow taste? When the audience's anger, fueled by the biased judging, reached its peak, I posted 2 updates on my social media. The first was a video of me in the dance studio, perfecting the moves one by one. The second was a recording of every conversation I had with Director Woods. Now, the public was in an uproar. Amidst a storm of condemnation, the show was forced to cut the live broadcast and issue an urgent statement, promising a thorough investigation and asking the audience to be patient. After watching the whole drama unfold, I finally left the dressing room where I had been hiding. Ethan was the first to spot me. His eyes lit up, and he walked over quickly, holding a bouquet of vibrant Louis XIV roses. "Nora, I had no idea you could dance so well." Ethan held the flowers out to me. "Congratulations." I glanced at Cecilia behind him, her face filled with venom, and smiled. "What? Realized you can't cover your tracks, and now you're trying to make peace with me." Chapter 25, Ethan's smile froze. "Nora, I am genuinely congratulating you. Can you please not be so prickly?" "Don't. I can't handle congratulations from Mr. Hawthorne." For once, Ethan didn't explode at my retort. "Nora, these are Louis XIV roses, flown in specially. Didn't you want them before?" I paused, remembering that I had indeed mentioned them to Ethan. At the time, I had an event with Cecilia. I was the main act, and she was just a backup dancer. After the performance, someone sent a huge arrangement of Louis XIV roses to the stage and gave them to Cecilia right in front of me. That day, all the media outlets were reporting on Cecilia, and I became her supporting character. Back then, I didn't know Cecilia was Ethan's mistress. I complained to him a bit when I got home. Ethan's face had darkened, and he called me a jealous shrew. His words made me feel guilty, and I reflected on my behavior, thinking I had been too petty. Because of that, I even gave Cecilia a few opportunities later on. It wasn't until much later that I found out the Louis XIV roses that had caused such a media frenzy that day were part of the flowery path Ethan had paved for her, at my expense. "Yes," I laughed self-deprecatingly. "Waiting foolishly for your pity, I was such an idiot." Ethan noticed the surrounding stares and looked embarrassed. "Nora Darcy, I've already apologized to you. What more do you want? Would it kill you to just back down?" He forcefully tried to put the roses in my hand. "Take them. When the media arrives, I won't force you to explain. Just stand by my side and smile." "You dare let me face the media?" I looked at him provocatively. Ethan wore a deliberately indulgent expression. "Nora, don't be foolish. I know you're the type to never give up, so I let you fend for yourself for a while. You see now, Dominic Sterling was just toying with you. He would never stay for you." Otherwise, with this whole mess, why has he been completely silent? I told you long ago, no man is faithful, you have to get used to it. Besides, in this world, the only one who can tolerate you without holding a grudge is me. Is that so? I raised an eyebrow and looked behind Ethan. Brother Dom, how did I dance today? A dance fit for the heavens, which a scoundrel is unworthy of appreciating. Dominic walked towards me, holding a priceless bouquet of Juliet roses amidst a sea of envious glances. It was only then that I noticed a large diamond nestled in the center of each rose. So extravagant, I casually tossed the Louis XIV roses Ethan had forced on me into the trash and carefully accepted the Juliet roses. Thank you, Brother Dom. Ethan was furious. Nora Darcy, what are you barking about? Dominic's face was stern. Having a rabies attack, should I call 911 for you? It was the first time I had seen Dominic being so sharp-tongued. It was both surprising and refreshing. I looked up at Dominic. He smiled and gently caressed my cheek. Ready for dinner? Yes, I'm starving. I naturally linked my arm with Dominic's. Ethan suddenly exploded. Nora Darcy, you are not leaving, I glanced back at him. The 1-month cooling-off period is over tomorrow. I'll be waiting for you at the city hall. Ethan bit his lip tightly, as if suppressing a wave of anger. Fine. I'll be waiting. You'd better not be late. Ethan was stubbornly convinced that I couldn't let go of our marriage. But who would wait forever in the same place for a cold, indifferent glance? The next day, I arrived at the city hall before it even opened. Dominic wanted to wait with me, but I persuaded him to go back to the car. Brother Dom, Ethan is like a piece of sticky plaster. I don't want him sticking to you. Besides, we were deeply in love once. Let me say goodbye to him alone. Before completely erasing him from my memory, I wanted to give our relationship one last shred of dignity. But Ethan, showing up with Cecilia, completely destroyed my last bit of hope. What's this? Weren't you all diamonds and flowers yesterday? All alone today? Ethan's expression was indescribably arrogant. I looked at him, my tone flat. Let's get the papers and go. My words choked off all the taunts he had prepared. The seal was stamped, and the divorce certificate was in my hand. I let out a sigh of relief, but Ethan didn't seem very happy. He blocked my path with his arm. You're happy? I looked up into his eyes. Yes, I'm very happy. The expression on my face seemed to finally hit him. He stiffened, realizing I wasn't lying. Nora, Cecilia, who had been watching Ethan's expression, suddenly cried out. Ethan's attention immediately shifted to her. Cease, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Cecilia sobbed. Ethan, I was going to tell you in a few days. I'm pregnant. Ethan was stunned at first, then his face lit up with joy. You're pregnant? Why didn't you say so? Come on, I'll take you to the hospital. Before walking out of the city hall, he suddenly looked back at me. Nora Darcy, you should take some time to reflect on yourself. Chapter 26, Dominic emerged from behind a nearby pillar. He hadn't been able to leave after all. He was too worried about me. We watched Ethan's car drive away, and then we both let out a sigh. I teased him. Mr. Sterling seems very happy. Dominic's hand tentatively rested on my waist. Of course I'm happy. The spot next to Juan is finally empty. I brought my ID and household registration. Can I propose to you now? I froze, my mouth agape. Huh. Dominic's hand on my waist tightened, his tense jawline making him look even more unapproachable. But I knew he was just nervous. Juan, will you marry me? Like a magician, he pulled a diamond ring from his pocket, his serious eyes almost pleading. I don't know much about jewelry. If you don't like this one, we can buy another. I looked at the familiar brand and style, and a warmth spread through my heart. A few days ago, Dominic had suddenly sent a stack of jewelry magazines to my room. He had casually asked which one I liked. At the time, I didn't think much of it, just thought he was asking randomly. I didn't know that Dominic had been planning to propose since that day. Juan, Dominic's expression turned regretful. I didn't think this through. This proposal is too rushed. Brother Dom, I interrupted his self-criticism and took his hand. Let's go get our marriage license. The City Hall staff member looked at us with a complicated expression as she took our certificate photo. She probably had never seen a couple transition from divorce to marriage as seamlessly as we did. Several times, she looked like she wanted to ask something but held back. When we got our marriage certificate, Dominic suddenly pulled out several large red envelopes and gave one to every staff member present. Now all speculation turned into sincere praise and blessings. The new couple is a perfect match, so handsome and beautiful, you can tell they will last forever. Yes, yes, you two look so alike. You'll definitely have a harmonious and long-lasting marriage. Dominic's stern features softened amidst the chorus of congratulations. He looked at me several times, his love growing freely, blossoming in his eyes. On the way back to the half-mountain villa, I took out the marriage certificate again, still feeling like it was surreal. Dominic rested his chin on my shoulder. The staff were right, we're a perfect match. My gaze fell, and I saw his thick, long lashes and his straight nose, and his thin lips. Though they had a sharp curve, they were surprisingly hot and sensual when they kissed. My cheeks flushed secretly. To hide my embarrassment, I took out my phone and scrolled through social media. The top trending topic was still dance or show. From the director to the judges, they had all been scolded by netizens and had issued 3 apology statements. And tags like Cecilia plagiarist and Cecilia the homewrecker get out of here had been quietly removed. It was obvious that Ethan had spent a fortune to protect Cecilia. I sneered, feeling nothing but contempt. Ding. A notification sound, another unknown number. Cease's pregnancy is confirmed. I don't trust anyone else, so you'll take care of her. You can stay in your old room. I stared at the 2 text messages in disbelief, feeling a wave of physical revulsion. I squeezed Dominic's hand. Brother Dom, I'm thinking of posting our marriage certificate. Would you mind? Dominic sat up straight. I'll have my assistant register and verify my social media account right away. I was confused. Huh, why? Silly, Dominic gently tapped my finger. To support my wife, of course. A wave of indescribable softness washed over me, and the whole world felt warmer. 5 minutes later, I posted 2 pictures. The first was our divorce certificate, the second a censored marriage certificate. The caption, "Hello, new life." The comments section quickly filled with messages. There were surprised, questioning, and congratulatory comments, and even quite a few cries of despair. New, why did my queen jump back into the tomb of marriage so quickly? Look at me, it turned out that yesterday's dance had gained me a lot of new fans. When Dominic saw these comments, he called his assistant. Hurry up. Why is it taking so long to verify an account? What are you getting paid for? He looked so agitated, as if he were about to fight the netizens himself. I smiled, a quiet joy flowing through me like a gentle stream. The annoying vibration sounded again. It was the same number from before. I thought for a moment and then answered the call. Nora Darcy, the marriage certificate is fake, isn't it? Ethan's breathing was heavy and ragged. You're just trying to provoke me. I know it. It must be. I spoke calmly. Ethan, is there any point in deceiving yourself? A loud crash came from the other end, as if someone had kicked over a table. I'm giving you one last chance. Ethan's voice was cold. Divorce him, otherwise you will regret it. Jiang-Wan. Ethan hung up. I clutched my phone, my face pale. He called me Jiang-Wan. He was going to use my past to threaten me. Don't be afraid. Dominic wrapped his arm around me, holding me tight. This time, I'm with you. I clutched his shirt. But, Wan, there's something I have to tell you. Dominic suddenly became serious. I've found something strange about your parents' case from back then. Chapter 27, the past was like a knife stuck in my heart. Every time I touched it, a sharp pain shot through me. My parents were both renowned biomedical experts. Back then, Jianghai Biotechnology was the undisputed leader in the industry. Their names often appeared in major news outlets. I still remember the shining title, The Light of Biopharmaceuticals. When I was 17, my parents developed a drug for a genetic disease. The initial progress was smooth, attracting the attention of the entire industry. But when it completed phase III trials and was officially put into clinical use, the first batch of patients receiving treatment all died from drug poisoning. What followed was a series of evidence pointing to my parents. Accusations of accepting huge bribes and substituting medicinal materials, of carrying out inhumane experiments on humans, and even of being bought by foreign powers. My parents committed suicide out of guilt. When the terrible news came, I was still at school participating in a sports event. And so, I missed my last chance to see them. I didn't believe any of the rumors. I thought my parents had simply made a mistake during the treatment process. They couldn't bear the deaths of the patients and, in a moment of despair, took their own lives. But Dominic told me that my parents' death was a targeted conspiracy from the very beginning. My parents were engrossed in medical research and didn't pay much attention to the business side of the company. Many business matters were handled by our neighbor at the time, Ethan's father. In my memory, Ethan's father was always warm and helpful, and Ethan's mother often cooked delicious meals for me. For a while, I had all 3 meals at the Hawthorns and gained several pounds. Ethan would affectionately call me Little Piggy Juan. That time was a sweet memory for me. Even when my family's troubles began and the Hawthorns' attitude suddenly changed, even forcing Ethan to cut ties with me, I didn't blame them. After all, the Hawthorne and Jiang families were business partners. In that situation, they had to protect themselves. Even now, as I stood as a stranger to Ethan, I had thought about taking care of his parents in their old age. So when Dominic told me that the case from back then was related to the Hawthorne family, my first reaction was denial. That's impossible. Mr. and Mrs. Hawthorne are not those kinds of people. They were very close to my parents. Dominic squeezed my hand tightly. Juan, I know this is hard to accept. If I could, I would hope you never had to know the truth. But there is a crucial piece of evidence that only you can get. I looked up blankly. What? Dominic gently pulled me into his arms, stroking my back comfortingly. Juan, after your father sent me abroad, he always maintained private contact with me. But he didn't tell anyone else about me because he knew that a tall tree attracts the wind. His existence had already become a thorn in some people's side, and anyone associated with him would be watched. He wanted me to be his last resort, a trump card that could protect his precious daughter after he had lost everything. Your father transferred money to my private account every year. By the time you were 17, it was a huge sum. I covered my mouth, my eyes stinging. My father, who always gave his heart so generously and without reservation. He had anticipated the possibility of betrayal, yet he still wanted to embrace the world with kindness. He chose to trust but still left a way out for me, his daughter. Tears streamed down my face, and my heart ached so much I could barely breathe. And you, I pursed my lips. Why did you only come back now? I didn't want to doubt Dominic, but with Ethan as a precedent, I couldn't just trust anyone so easily anymore. Chapter 28, Dominic pressed his forehead against mine. The incident at Jianghai Technology happened very suddenly. Your father had almost no time to react. The last email he sent me was half an hour before he passed away. I prepared to return to the country as soon as I got the news, but unfortunately, the heir of the Sterling family at the time had just found out about my identity. He was afraid I would threaten his position and sent people to intercept me. He beat me severely. Dominic's eyes darkened, and he seemed to hesitate. I asked tentatively, was it a bad injury? A head injury. When I woke up, I had the intelligence of a 5-year-old. Dominic smiled self-deprecatingly. It sounds absurd, doesn't it? I looked straight into his eyes. In those deep, ink-black pools, I clearly saw intense sincerity. At that moment, the memories of the boy's strength and his promises became incredibly clear. I was silent for a few seconds, then chose to take his hand. Brother Dom, thank you for being willing to come back for me. Dominic was taken aback, and his dark pupils quickly filled with complex emotions. Juan, many things didn't need to be said. We understood each other. Dominic told me that in the email my father sent him, he mentioned Juan's little garden. The final fruit grows in a secret corner of the garden. After investigating for some time, I am almost certain that your father had some key evidence at the time. He just couldn't release it easily due to the circumstances, so he had to hide it in the safest place. Juan, do you know where the secret corner of the garden is? Of course, I knew. My father and I had dug it out shovel by shovel. How could I not know? I rushed with Dominic to my old home, and from a corner of the overgrown yard, we dug up a USB drive. The contents were shocking, involving a list of powerful figures from that time. No wonder my father had chosen to take the blame, and the Hawthorne family was prominently involved. I trembled with anger, laughing and crying at the same time. I knew it. My parents were innocent. These monsters, I want them to pay with their lives. Dominic clenched his fists, the veins on the back of his hands bulging with suppressed rage. Juan, don't worry. Even if I have to risk my life, I will clear the Jiang family's name. I bit my lower lip hard, forcing myself to calm down. Brother Dom, they ruined my parents' reputation and made them suffer scorn even after death. Just sending them to prison is not enough for me. What do you want to do? Dominic's eyes were dark. I'm with you. Let's get married, I suddenly suggested. I mean, a grand, high-profile wedding. Dominic was stunned at first, then smiled knowingly. Juan, I was already planning to give you the most romantic and luxurious wedding. My voice softened. Then it's perfect, a double celebration. Dominic was a man of his word. He immediately started planning the wedding. In his own words, besides money and a wife, he was useless. So, with the power of money, our wedding was soon on the schedule. We worked together seamlessly, showing off our love and promoting the event on social media. The upcoming global wedding quickly became the top trending topic. Cecilia and Ethan naturally saw it too. The first private message came from Cecilia. So, what if you've landed a rich man? What do you think Mr. Sterling will say when he finds out your true identity? Wouldn't he find it unlucky? The daughter of a killer. I stared at the two messages, knowing that Ethan had indeed told Cecilia my secret. Surprisingly, I didn't feel the pain of betrayal. I replied calmly, I'm about to marry Dominic Sterling. Ethan is all yours. What are you still not happy about? Cecilia replied almost instantly, you were defeated by me. Why do you get to marry better than me? Just you wait. I will make sure you are utterly disgraced, a truly shameless and crazy woman. I shook my head, deciding to ignore her. It was as if Cecilia and Ethan had coordinated. As soon as she went quiet, Ethan sent me a message. Jiang, I'm giving you one last chance. Come back to me. Otherwise, I will break your wings and make you spend the rest of your life in a cage. I sneered and replied with one word. Scram. Chapter 29. Over the next few days, I quietly monitored the internet. As expected, clickbait accounts began to bring up the old Jianghai technology corruption case. With the help of a few influential bloggers, this old news was suddenly brought back to the forefront. It even dominated the headlines of major platforms for a while. Ethan didn't send any more threatening messages. He was confident that I would understand his meaning. Perhaps, just like before, he was sitting on his high horse, waiting for me to beg for mercy, to admit my mistake. But this time, I wouldn't give him what he wanted. I didn't respond to him at all, right up until the day of the wedding. Of course, Ethan wouldn't just let it go. He actually brought Cecilia and showed up at my wedding, bold as brass. Dominic's face was grim. Mr. Hawthorne, I don't recall you being on my guest list. Ethan smiled faintly. My ex-wife is getting married. It's not too much for the ex-husband to come and offer his blessings, is it? Though he was speaking to Dominic, his eyes never left me for a second. I could read his expression. Awe, a strong sense of possession, and a hint of regret. My marriage to Ethan was a secret. No wedding, and certainly no wedding dress. This must have been the first time he had seen me in one. I brushed a stray hair from my cheek. All who come are guests. Mr. Hawthorne, please, come in. Ethan stared at me deeply, his feet rooted to the spot. It was Cecilia, her face pale, who finally pulled him along, and he reluctantly moved away. Dominic stared at Ethan's back, a fierce glint in his eyes. I quickly waved my hand in front of his face. Don't make that face. You'll scare the children. Dominic's expression changed in an instant. Wife, I want to gouge his eyes out. I linked my arm with Dominic's, smiling at the newly arrived guests while whispering a warning, control yourself. Don't ruin our big plan. I knew Ethan wanted to cause trouble, and conveniently, I wanted to use his plan to my advantage and make a big move. So I let them sit in the front row and didn't stop Cecilia from live streaming the event on her phone. I just didn't expect that Ethan would push Cecilia to be the one to drop the bomb. Just as Dominic and I were about to exchange rings, Cecilia suddenly stood up. Guests, friends, and viewers in my live stream, I have a bombshell to drop. Our bride today, the great dancer Nora Darcy, has another identity she dares not mention. Her parents were the masterminds behind the deaths of over 20 patients. Her real name is Jiang. Cecilia's words were like a bomb dropped into the water. The wedding venue instantly erupted in chaos. Ethan looked at me eagerly, his eyes filled with a burgeoning desire. What was he desiring? Did tearing my dignity to shreds bring him so much pleasure? I looked back at him. After a long stare, he slowly looked away. I still saw no guilt on his face. The last embers of my old feelings for him finally turned to ash. I calmly picked up the microphone. That's right. I am Jiangwan. Today is my wedding, the most important day of my life, so I want to take this opportunity to do one more important thing. I squeezed Dominic's hand and nodded to the assistant on the side of the stage. Play it. The wedding promotional video quickly switched. A half-hour-long video of evidence was suddenly displayed for everyone to see. I could hear the angry shouts from the guests below and see Cecilia's panicked grip on Ethan's arm. And of course, the main culprit of it all, Ethan, across the crowd, his eyes shattered. After today, our roles would be reversed. I wondered if he felt any regret at this moment. Don't look. Dominic's hand gently covered my eyes. Don't forget our wedding. Chapter 30. My initial goal was to make those who had caused my parents' deaths taste the bitterness of public scorn. So many years had passed since the Jianghai technology incident that only a few people remembered it. If I had rashly released the video evidence, the story might have been suppressed before it gained any traction. But Ethan, wanting to force me to submit, had deliberately used his media influence to bring the incident back into the public eye. To crush my hopes once and for all, he had already prepared a public opinion campaign. I simply used his momentum, and at the peak of public attention, I dealt him a heavy blow. With Dominic's powerful execution, the wedding continued without interruption despite the small hiccup. Ethan and Cecilia, however, were escorted out by bodyguards and immediately swarmed by reporters. He stood amidst the microphones, dazed, and after a long pause, he finally spoke, his voice trembling. Is it really impossible to go back this time? The power of public opinion was immense. Amidst the outrage, with the evidence I had and Dominic's considerable influence, the truth of what happened years ago was finally revealed. It took less than a month. Those who needed to be arrested were arrested, and those who needed to be held accountable were held accountable. The Hawthorne family was the first to fall, declaring bankruptcy. Ethan's parents were both sent to prison. The rest of their lives would be spent behind bars. The public began to remember my parents, and their past good deeds were brought to light one by one. While they were organizing a collective memorial service, Dominic and I finally reinterred their ashes with the honor they deserved. As we were preparing to leave the cemetery, a figure suddenly threw himself onto the hood of the car. It was Ethan. I hadn't seen him in over a month, and I almost didn't recognize him. How could I describe him now? Unshaven, with dark circles under his eyes, a pale face, messy hair, and wrinkled clothes. Ethan had always been a man of appearances. Even during the toughest times when we had eloped, I had never seen him so disheveled. He pounded on the hood, pleading, "Nora, get out of the car. I have something to say to you." Dominic asked me seriously, "Do you want to get out?" I shook my head and rolled down the window. "Let's just talk like this." Ethan hesitated for less than 5 seconds before giving up on the hood and running to my side of the car. "Nora, I was wrong. I was really wrong. You know, all these years, you were the one I loved the most. I was just possessed to do such a terrible thing. I just couldn't bear to lose you, Nora. Please give me one more." "Ethan," I interrupted him coldly, "I only have one question for you. Did you know what your parents were doing?" Ethan was taken aback, then immediately denied it. "How could I have known? I ran away with you." I sighed softly. "You're still lying to me. All these years, you've been using money from the Hawthorne family, including your startup capital, which your father gave you. You knew everything the Hawthorne family did from the beginning. Were you with me out of guilt, or because you wanted to keep a hidden danger under your thumb? Either way, it couldn't have been because of love. So, let's just end it here." I rolled up the window without hesitation. Dominic stepped on the gas, and the car sped away. Ethan was grazed by the car and fell to the ground pathetically. "What about his woman?" Dominic asked, surprisingly gossipy. "Didn't she swear to never leave his side?" I smiled. "She ran off long ago. A woman like Cecilia never had any real feelings to begin with, but she and Ethan were a perfect match. Actually, she's recently attached herself to another married man. I just sent the photos of their affair to his wife yesterday. I expect there will be some drama soon. I'm not a saint. My past meekness was just a product of my own insecurity. Dominic freed one hand and, out of habit, rested it on my leg. "That's my wife." I swatted his hand away. "Drive properly. I want sour fish soup for dinner tonight." "As you wish, my dear wife." In the rearview mirror, Ethan seemed to be chasing the car for a while, but he couldn't outrun it. As I watched his figure shrink in the distance, I tried to recall his face and realized I couldn't even remember what he looked like. Then I turned to look at the man beside me. Unknowingly, Dominic's face had replaced Ethan's, deeply etched in my mind. I took out my phone and snapped a picture of the man driving. I posted it on my social media with the caption, "Moving forward."